In verse 1 and 2 of chapter 8, we left 7 angels that were before the throne of God, which we have named them. And these 7 angels are about to blow their trumpets, which is symbolic of issuing out the judgments, the trumpet judgments of God himself. But yet, in verse 3, there's another angel. So there's a total of 8 angels here. Who is this angel and what does it represent? Hello everybody, I'm Keith O'Dare, and welcome to When You Search for the Truth, where we look for the truth by looking at what is actually written in the Word of God, word for word, in the order given from the original text, using the original definitions. Again, I'm hoping you're liking this. If any questions or anything else, put them down below, and we can get to them. All right, in chapter 8, in the word for word, starting in verse 3, it says, "And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and given to him much censer, in order to offer the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke," verse 4, "of this incense with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God and all the angels' hands." And verse 5, "And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire, and the altar, and cast it to the earth. And there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake." All right, here we have an eighth angel. And if we look close at this, this is somebody who has received. You see it right there. It says he came and stood by the altar. We already know the altar has the people who were martyred during the Great Tribulation. We also know that the sounds and the prayers are all those who came from the saints themselves. And we have to see here that it says having a golden censer, golden meaning of God, and it was given much incense, otherwise much power, in order to offer the saints. For here we have verses, or a verse that tells you there is power in prayer. We may be laughed at for praying. We may see that there is a little bit of power in prayer, but there's a lot of power in prayer, and it's all been saved up here. And that power is going to be released in the form of a judgment, as a righteous judgment, to pay back for all those saints that were of the church, that's you and me, especially those who were killed during the tribulation, and especially the Great Tribulation. Again, given to the eighth angel much incense, in order to offer up the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which is before the throne of God. This eighth angel, this eighth messenger, this eighth person that is working for God, this Elohim, is Yeshua, Jesus Christ. He's the one that receives all the prayers and submits them on to God. He is our mediator. We're told that. So here we have the eighth angel is representative of Yeshua, and he's the one that's going to be ministering this stuff, this judgment out through the other, the 7 angels that we mentioned earlier. You know, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and so on, like that. But again, he has the power of the prayers that you and I have sent up over the time. That's why it's important that we send up our prayer. We may a lot of people sell that short, but again, there's power in prayer. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire, and cast that, and the altar cast it to the earth. So this is Yeshua, Jesus Christ, saying, all right, here's the power of God. Here's God's authorization. It is his wrath, and it's also referred to as the wrath of the Lamb. It's going to be cast to the earth, and it's going to come out in these 7 trumpets of the 7 angels that are before the throne of God. And again, there were voices and thunderings and lightning and an earthquake. All that is representative of righteousness, judgment, and the word of God being fulfilled. And that's what that's all symbolic of. All right, verse 6 says, and the 7 angels which had 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. Again, verses 3, 4, and 5, God is giving the power over to Yeshua, Jesus Christ, to administer this judgment that's going to be fed out through the 7 angels. And he's just going through all the steps to show you that it is from God and it is righteous. So in verse 7 it says, the first angel sounded, and there came like hail and fire mingled with blood, and it was cast upon the earth, and 1/3 of the trees were consumed by fire, and green grass was consumed by fire. We'll notice later on, next chapter, it's God says, don't hurt the rest of the grass and the rest of the trees. The grass and the trees are symbolic of those prayers and those that are coming up from the earth. Well, since the church has been raptured out, those prayers are no more. So those have been extinguished, and that's what this 1/3 of the earth is being extinguished out, is the fact that those are complete. They're up on the altar, and they're being fulfilled right now through the power of God, through Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus Christ. And that's what all this is saying right here. Anyway, and it says, consumed by fire, and all grass was, again, consumed by fire. In verse 8, it says, then the second angel sounded, and like a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and 1/3 of the sea became blood. Notice what it does say a mountain here, but it's symbolic of the power, the judgment becoming as God's judgment onto the earth, and it was cast into the sea. And sea is representative or symbolic of the population of the earth. So it's not necessarily into the sea. It may incorporate the sea, but symbolically the sea is the people on the earth. And 1/3 of the sea became blood. Otherwise, 1/3 of the population, it's gone. They're extinguished. And they're seeing this. Now notice, remember, back during the seals, in the 6th seal, they recognize that it is God doing this. Keep in mind, during the 6th seal, they get their evidence. They want it. The atheists get their proof that there is a God. All the doubters get their proof that there is a God, because God makes himself known. And during the 6th seal, just before the rapture of the church, now we're post-rapture, and now they know all the silence in the earth. Remember, they sat there for a week on earth, and they're pondering this. What have they gone through? What's about to come? And they know it's from God. They've got their evidence. And of course, they see that right here, where 1/3 of the population will be extinguished. They're gone. They're gone. And that's what the blood means, that they will die. And in verse 9, a third part of the creatures that were in the sea and had life died, and 1/3 of the ships were destroyed. I know if you look at it, ships is the instruments used by man against God. The creatures are you and me, or actually those who are on the earth, and it means those are living creatures, being human beings, and unfortunately all the animals that was going on right here. But anyway, and they had died. And the instruments of man have been destroyed. And verse 10, and the third angel sounded and descended like a great star from heaven, burning as if it was a lamp, and it fell upon a third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. All right. And verse 11, and the name of the star was spoken, Wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the waters because it was made bitter. This third angel sounded and descended. Now it shows that this third angel, was the one that descends like a great star. Stars are representative of angels coming to earth. If you remember, a third of the angels were thrown down to the earth during the great battle between Satan and God. We also know that's symbolic of stars being swept down. So again, stars are symbolic of angels, God's messengers on earth. Anyway, and that third angel descends like a great messenger, and he's burning. Otherwise, he's representative of a lamp, which is the light of God, and otherwise they'll see it coming. And it fell upon a third of the rivers and upon the fountains of water. Now, it's interesting to note in verse 11 says that the name of the star was spoken, Wormwood, which means bitterness. It's interesting also to note that the Ukrainian word for wormwood is Chernobyl, which means bitterness. So is this an end time reference to something that's similar to radiation? We don't know. But using that same type of judgment or radiation or whatever, somehow a third of the waters become bitter. And many men died from the waters that became bitter. So it's either going to be something the angel does to it, or it's going to be something similar to radiation. We don't know. Keep in mind, radiation just doesn't come from a nuclear bomb. It also comes from the sun. It radiates from the earth. So it's a natural occurrence. And this angel is using radiation or something similar to this to create the waters to become bitter. And again, many men die from the waters because it was made wormwood. All right, we'll continue on with this and next time as we get into the fourth angel. Hope you're enjoying it. Till next time, shalom.